Hi everyone, in this session we will see how to debug core and provider errors. So without any ado, let's get started. So first, we will see how to enable logging via environment variables. So there are 4 important environment variables which need to be used or which can be used for enabling logging with Terraform. So the first 3 environment variables, which is tflog, tflog core, tflog provider, these are the 3 major environment variables to which all these options are eligible. The first one is trace. The second one is debug, followed by info, warn, error. And JSON is something which is used more like a flag just to output your log files in a JSON format so that they can be used programmatically. And next we have, and similarly, all these options can be used for all the first 3 environment variables, and each and every environment, these 2, the core and provider environment variables have their own limitation. When it comes to core, this is only used for capturing the logs for core errors, and provider will only, when you set this variable to with any of these options, it will only capture that specific messages or that specific log for only provider errors. And similarly with core, and log is something which doesn't matter, which will capture logs for all kind of errors based on the value you assign to it. It will include core, provider, and other errors as well, even the syntactical errors or the format errors, etc. And finally, we have tflog path, which is nothing but, as you have captured your logs using these parameters, after enabling these parameters or environment variables, you want to store that log in a specific location so that you can attach that file to your GitHub issue. So to store that output log into a specific location, you can mention that path in this tflog path environment variable, which will automatically store all your logs in that location based on whatever you have mentioned here. So that's a quick overview. I don't want to jump into more theory. Instead, let's do some hands-on to get more clarity around these parameters. Okay, I'll switch back to my VS Code. So I will create new. So instead of using VS Code this time, I will use my command prompt, because you may also face this error when you are working on, not error, the issue when you're working on your Windows system. So for setting the environment variables, you need to use a command called set in your Windows. It will be different in the Linux. You can find that in the internet, what is relevant command for Linux users. Or else you can also, I can also show you quickly how exactly you should find it. A second. Setting environment variables in Linux. Export. Okay. So basically, I can also show you that from my Ubuntu server. But first, let's look from Windows perspective. Okay. So I have this file. I'll just do dir here so that let's see what our file. We just have a main.tf, which is nothing but what we currently have here. I'm in my troubleshooting folder, main.tf. So this is a one. And let's assume I want to write something like this. I don't want to provision or use any provider here. Or else I'll just create a variable which says name, and I don't want to give any complicated example. I'll just go with a simple one called type is equal to string type, and default is equal to some value. Hello logger. So now let's save this, and let's assume I execute this. Fly. Okay, hold on a second. I think I already enabled my parameter. That's the reason it's showing this all. So let's clear this up. So if I go ahead and say echo tf underscore log, you can see I already configured this to debug. Okay, let's assume there is nothing. So the way to set an environment variables in Windows is use set followed by the variable name equal to. I'll just give empty so that nothing is here now. So now I'll try to do a apply, and that gonna just say execution, no changes, apply complete 000. I can add some output for your understanding as well here. But name something like this. My bad. Okay. This formatted. Form. Apply. So in this case, I'm not using integrated terminal because I'm not able to set environment variables via integrated terminal. That's the reason I'm using my uh, Windows command prompt. Okay, so now you can see directly printing this message. Right now, let's assume I will set this variable. So I'll just use set debug. Okay, so now we are here, and now I'll issue Terraform apply. You can see there's a lot of messages which are getting printed on your command prompt after issuing the command. You can see there is info, debug, info, debug, debug, info. The advantage of okay using debug is it will print debug and info messages. Okay, let's wait for some time. So you can see it's completed and you can see the name got printed. And one thing you observe, you can see all info and debug messages here. So info is more lower level compared to the debug. So when you use debug, it will also print info messages as well. So let's assume I said something like tf underscore log is equal to just info. Okay. And now I'll try to apply. Now you can see it will only print info messages. It won't print debug or any other. Okay. And this should be quite faster compared to debug because debug need to do a lot of stuff. So you can see it only printed info. And always remember trace is something which do a lot of stuff. It will print everything. So even in the exam, if there is a question like what is the most powerful option for TF log, which will be used for debugging any kind of error, the answer should be trace. And this is one of the most important question you may get. You will get for sure. Forget about me. You will get for sure in your exam. So now, if you see there are so many messages you can see, you'll get error messages, you will get debug messages, you'll get trace messages, each and every step what it is doing, and log also is quite huge. So if you faced any provider errors or core errors, and you want to send the debug log to attach your debug log to respective team to debug over it, either it can be a Terraform HashiCorp or it can be a provider or the person or an organization who developed that provider. Okay, so traces, always remember trace is something which will print everything. And we also have a couple of other options, right? As we saw in the presentation, we have trace, debug, info, warn, and error. As of now, we haven't seen any warnings or errors in our this thing in our logs. That's the reason even if we use error, set it as error, it's not gonna print anything. So if I go ahead and apply it, not gonna print. To print that, what I need to do, I need to create an error. So for that, what I will do, I'll just try to remove this. So this is an error, right? So let's try if it works or not. So this is set. Now I need to apply. Okay, so this is completely different. It is throwing an error during the validation only. Basically, whenever you try to apply, it will perform a validation automatically. Terraform validation. So this is not how the errors will be logged. If there is any errors while provisioning or while connecting to, let's assume you're using Terraform Cloud and internally it will try to connect to Terraform Cloud and it will fail because of some kind of time error, time issue, timeout errors, or some kind of network error. So all those things will be logged in the log file and you can debug them. And that will surely have this error message inside it. And at that time, obviously, as we have set this to error, it will print only the error messages. Similarly, if you have any warnings, which is marked as one or which is flagged as one here, it's going to print only one if you set the TF log to one. Okay, and there is one more major parameter which is very handy, which is nothing but TF log underscore path. So this is a location in which you want to store your log file. I'll just give log as of now. So what happens is when I do a Terraform apply, hold on a second. First, I'll change this to one small thing like debug would be fine. Just capturing decent amount of. Okay, I need to fix my this thing over here. Saved it. I think I missed to save it. So this will take a while. Till then, I'll pause and get back. So now you see, even though we have set, I'll just echo the tf underscore log. This is not how you need to echo. My bad. Okay, even though you set debug after running apply, it is not printing any stuff. That is because we have a path. We have set the path environment variables in which logs should be stored. If I say dir now, you're gonna see terraform.log file. If I go back to this one, and if I go ahead and probably refresh this, yeah, you can see here the entire log file. You can simply attach this log file to your GitHub issue so that the opposite person can review it and give you the solution or tell you what is the issue. Okay, that's a quick info about how to use Terraform path and dflog, dflog path and dflog. And there are two more parameters, as I mentioned earlier, which are Terraform, TF-log core and provider. These are the two parameters which are more specific for capturing either core errors or core logs, or the errors occurred during the core logs or the logs related to the providers. So I can't really demonstrate them, but yeah, it's completely depends upon the use case. But if you see here, let's see if we can do something. We can demonstrate something related to the provider or core. So execution graph, transform. I think most of the stuff here either belongs to Terraform or core. So let's try testing it. Okay. So what I will do, I will try to first set not path this to null, and I will say here core, and I will try to set it to trace or debug. Let's go with debug. Okay. And now let's try running from apply. And let's wait and see. This should be changed. You can see the time difference. This is a 12T17, 1954. Now it should be quite different. So let's wait for this to be. This is completed. Let's see. I don't see any change. For better visibility, let's disable this path. Okay. Let's run it again. Okay. So it is displaying stuff. So all the messages, what you see here, related to the core. When you put this one and the one which you captured with tf-log is equal to debug, you will see some differences for sure. And again, if you are using, as of now, I'm not using any kind of provider in my main.tf. That's the reason you don't see much files here, much log related to, which says AWS or something. But again, if you want to fetch those details, you can do that as well. So let's do one more thing. Let's try trace now, or else let's do path. Yeah, reset this path and core equal to, my bad. I'll make this provider equal to trace, which will give max logs, right? Let's do that. And I will try to remove this path so that we can see everything in here itself. Okay. So now let's do Terraform apply. Okay. So you can see the provider, the configuration, client, automatic MTL. And yeah, as we are using AWS here, that's the reason you are getting all this stuff related to provider. Okay. Let's wait, or else I'll cancel this so that, because I'm using trace. So let's assume I'm removing this provider from here. Okay, I'll just comment this out and go back, perform Terraform init, so that it will create my provider log file. I will remove AWS from that. And now I'll try to apply. So now you can see it haven't printed anything. So it's completely about how you set your parameters, what you code in your config file. So that's a quick overview or high level details and about how to use environment variables for enabling loggings for your Terraform configuration files for debugging purpose. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for joining. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.